In the fragile ecosystem of an NFL preseason, a time of manufactured hope and carefully managed expectations, the rumor mill typically serves as background noise, a low hum of trade whispers and camp battles that rarely breaks through the static. But every so often, a story emerges that is so jarring, so fundamentally disruptive, it stops being noise and becomes a shockwave. This is one of those stories. It feels less like a rumor and more like a high-yield explosive detonated without warning in the very heart of training camp. Multiple sources, the kind who trade invalidated information from deep within the league's inner sanctum, are confirming a scenario so audacious it borders on the surreal. Shedeur Sanders, the rookie quarterbacking prodigy who single-handedly hijacked the NFL narrative with his stunning professional debut, has reportedly requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns, and the destination he is allegedly targeting elevates this from a mere contract dispute to a Shakespearean drama. He wants to go to the New Orleans Saints, the very franchise that held his future in their hands on draft day, looked him squarely in the eye, and publicly, repeatedly chose to pass him over. This is the same Shedeur Sanders whose first preseason appearance was so compelling, so utterly magnetic, that it generated near record-breaking television viewership for the NFL Network, transforming a meaningless August exhibition into a national cultural event. The same Shedeur Sanders, whose name became a viral inferno on social media as seasoned analysts, cynical fans, and even star players from rival teams were left grasping for superlatives to describe his preternatural calm in the pocket, his clean surgical mechanics, and the flashes of elite, veteran-level decision-making under the white-hot glare of his first professional spotlight. Yet, despite a debut that sent waves of pure, unadulterated hope through the long-suffering Cleveland fanbase, a performance that screamed franchise quarterback, the reports insist he is prepared to burn it all down. He is ready to force his way out of Cleveland before he has even had the chance to take a single regular season snap. But this is where the story spirals into the realm of pure, uncut organizational theater. The most explosive part of the rumor alleges that Browns owner Jimmy Haslam, the man who went on the record to publicly admit Shedeur was never his pick, is not just willing but perhaps even eager to move him, and the rumored asking price is where disbelief turns to astonishment. As little as a 7th-round draft pick or some form of conditional late-round compensation, let that absurdity wash over you. A potential cornerstone quarterback, a player with a stratospheric ceiling and proven immediate box office appeal, could be acquired for a price tag so insultingly low it constitutes grand larceny in the world of NFL trades. This is the kind of franchise-altering move that would fuel sports talk radio debates for months, a transaction so lopsided it would be dissected and analyzed for years. If the New Orleans Saints managed to pull this off, they wouldn't just be correcting one of the most glaring and publicly ridiculed draft mistakes in recent memory, they would be performing an audacious daylight heist, yanking a supernova of a star right out of Cleveland's grasp before the season has even begun. But how in the hyper-competitive, asset-hoarding world of the NFL did we arrive at this precipice of chaos? The real story begins inside the walls of a quarterback room that is teetering on the brink of implosion. To step inside the Cleveland Browns quarterback room right now is to witness a masterclass in mismanagement. It feels less like a finely tuned unit of professional athletes and more like a dysfunctional family dinner where everyone has a competing agenda. It's a logistical and developmental nightmare where too many disparate personalities and conflicting timelines are crammed into one pressure cooker environment, creating a palpable tension that screams, sooner or later someone is getting voted off the island. At the head of this precarious table sits Joe Flacco. He is the respected elder statesman, a ghost of Super Bowls past whose presence commands a certain gravitas, but at 39 years old, he is a living monument to a bygone era, a bridge to yesterday, not a pathway to tomorrow. Then there is Dillon Gabriel, the rookie drafted out of Oregon, a player who flashes legitimate promise but is still trying to process the ferocious speed and suffocating complexity of the professional game. And you have Kenny Pickett, the haunted former first-round pick, cast off by the Philadelphia Eagles and now a reclamation project, desperately searching for the consistency and swagger that once made him a collegiate hero. Rounding out this motley crew is Tyler Huntley, the definition of a reliable but ultimately unspectacular journeyman, a player literally signed off the street as an emergency insurance policy, and then standing apart from them all is Shedeur The rookie with the poise of a 10-year pro, the flawless mechanics, and a debut performance so commanding it forced the entire league to sit up and take notice. Yet, despite the undeniable brilliance he showcased, Shedeur finds himself drowning in a five-man quarterback logjam, a strategic setup that constitutes nothing short of developmental malpractice for a young player who desperately needs reps to grow. 5 quarterbacks, 1 football, and 0 long-term clarity. And here lies the cold, hard political reality that underpins this entire crisis. Shedeur Sanders is not the owner's guy. Jimmy Haslam himself, in a moment of shocking and perhaps reckless candor, confessed that if you had informed him on draft night that the Browns would be selecting Sanders, his unequivocal response would have been, "That's not happening." In the brutal, unforgiving world of the NFL, that is not an innocuous off-the-cuff remark, it is a public undermining, it is a vote of no confidence delivered before a single vote was cast. It is an admission that Shedeur was never part of the owner's vision and would never be afforded the institutional protection, the patience, or the red carpet treatment typically granted to a potential franchise quarterback. NFL locker rooms are governed by politics as much as they are by playbooks, and that kind of top-down dismissal is a death sentence. It is the ghost that haunts the room, and it's precisely why this trade chatter feels so much more substantial than just random noise. To truly comprehend the depth of the tension simmering in Cleveland, you have to rewind the clock to draft day, the moment this entire combustible situation was ignited. The NFL draft is a spectacle of hope and high stakes, but as the picks rolled in and Shedeur Sanders' name remained uncalled, the atmosphere shifted. His slide out of the first round was surprising, his tumble through the second was shocking, his continued freefall into the anonymity of day 3 was a source of league-wide disbelief. This was a quarterback once projected as a top 2 pick, a Heisman-caliber leader from a major program, and the son of an NFL icon, Deion Sanders. He possessed a rare combination of mental fortitude and marketing gold that front offices salivate over. Yet, as team after team went on the clock, he languished on the board. The Cleveland Browns themselves passed on him 6 separate times before finally, almost reluctantly, calling his name with the 144th pick in the 5th round. Even that moment felt transactional. The reason became clear when Jimmy Haslam, the Browns' notoriously hands-on owner, uttered the words that now serve as the key to this entire saga. His statement was a chilling indictment. "If you had told me Friday night we'd pick Shedeur, I would have said that's not happening." That isn't just a comment, it's a public declaration that you are an outsider, an unwanted guest in your own house. It means you are not protected. It means you are expendable. Shedeur Sanders walked into the Cleveland Browns facility already fighting an uphill war, not just for a starting job but for his very place in the building's long-term vision. And when you juxtapose that hostile environment with the 5-alarm fire raging in New Orleans, the pieces of this puzzle begin to lock together in a way that makes a trade feel not just possible, but inevitable. If the Browns' quarterback room is an overcrowded house, the Saints' situation is a barren, desolate wasteland. The post-Drew Brees era has been a painful search for stability, but this offseason brought a new level of crisis. The gut punch landed when Derek Carr, the veteran they had counted on to anchor the position, abruptly announced his retirement. His departure created a black hole at the most important position in all of sports, leaving New Orleans scrambling with a trio of uninspiring options. There's Jake Haener, a young quarterback who has shown fleeting moments of adequacy, but has never convinced anyone he can be a legitimate long-term starter. There's Spencer Rattler, the once-hyped college phenom, whose immense physical gifts have yet to translate into consistent NFL success. And then there is Tyler Shough, the 26-year-old rookie whom the Saints controversially selected in the 2nd round, a move that blindsided and enraged their passionate fan base, primarily because the electrifying Shedeur Sanders was sitting right there for the taking. The team's preseason opener wasn't just a loss, it was a public validation of every fan's worst fears. Shough threw a brutal, soul-crushing pick-6, a pass so telegraphed that it looked like he was throwing batting practice to the opposing defense. The reaction on Saints Twitter was a digital insurrection. Haener and Rattler also played, but neither could generate anything resembling a competent NFL offense. The online fallout was a toxic tidal wave of regret and rage. Fans weren't just criticizing on-field execution, they were questioning the fundamental competence of the front office. One viral post perfectly captured the mood. Shough, garbage, Rattler, poop, could have had Shedeur Sanders. Another fan wrote with palpable agony, still in disbelief they passed on Shedeur, this will haunt us for years, and they are not wrong. In a city as passionate as New Orleans, where football is a secular religion, the quarterback position is sacred ground. Right now, Saints fans are being forced to watch the one that got away perform miracles in Cleveland, while their own hand-picked options are failing to move the chains. That stage is perfectly set for regret to curdle into desperation, and in the NFL, desperation is the mother of the blockbuster trade. Sometimes all it takes is one singular performance to completely rewrite a narrative. For Shedeur Sanders, that moment was the Browns' preseason opener. Remember the context: Shedeur wasn't the anointed one, he wasn't getting starter reps, the assumption was he'd be a spectator, but when his number was called, he didn't just play, he conducted a symphony of offensive efficiency. His final stat line, 14 of 23 for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns, fails to capture the artistry of his performance. It was about a commanding presence you cannot teach. His footwork was a masterclass in pocket management, his throws were decisive, delivered with anticipation and a palpable zip, and most critically, in the chaos of his first professional game, he was the calmest person in the stadium. It wasn't just Browns fans who were mesmerized. The NFL Network broadcast nearly shattered preseason viewership records. A digital tsunami of his highlights flooded social media. Analysts who had been skeptical were now calling him the steal of the draft. And all the while the Saints were watching, their front office, their fans, their players, while Shedeur was methodically dismantling an NFL defense, their own quarterbacks were struggling to complete basic passes. It was a jarring split-screen nightmare of what could have been versus what is. It was the kind of performance that forces an organization to look in the mirror and confront a catastrophic mistake. In New Orleans, that confrontation was already escalating into a deafening roar. Regret is usually a slow burn in the insulated world of NFL front offices, but in New Orleans it has been a raging inferno. From the moment Shedeur Sanders walked off that field, the noise started, and it has not stopped. Local sports radio has become a daily public flogging of the Saints front office. Callers are incandescent with rage. They remember seeing Shedeur available, a gift from the football gods, and they remember their team arrogantly walking right past him. Now every viral clip of a Sanders touchdown feels like another twist of the knife, and the Saints locker room is not immune to this citywide meltdown. Players hear the chatter, coaches read the scathing headlines, and general manager Mickey Loomis cannot ignore the disastrous optics. That kind of pressure creates an internal imperative to act, to make a bold move to stop the bleeding, and what could be bolder than bringing in the very player you spurned before he becomes an untouchable superstar somewhere else? This is where the story transcends speculation and enters the realm of legitimate insider chatter. Multiple league sources are now discussing the very real possibility of a Shedeur Sanders trade, not in the off-season. Now, before Week 1, the primary driver, Browns owner Jimmy Haslam, he doesn't want a fan-led quarterback controversy. Joe Flacco is the safe veteran. The other QBs are organizational projects. Shedeur is the wild card, the player the fans are already championing. He is a distraction Haslam never wanted, and so we arrive at the jaw-dropping proposition. The Browns are reportedly willing to move him for a 7th-round pick. That is a clearance rack price for a player who just delivered one of the most impressive debuts in recent memory. For the desperate Saints, the opportunity is almost too perfect to be real. If these whispers are true, this is no longer a possibility, it is a powder keg with a lit fuse. In the NFL, timing is everything, and right now the timing is perfect. The preseason trade window is when front offices are most open to making bold moves. For Cleveland, trading Shedeur now solves a problem before it explodes. For the Saints, the urgency is even greater. They have 2 more games to solve their quarterback crisis, and the logistics are simple. NFL trades can materialize in hours. A phone call, an agreement, and a player is on a plane. This is why insiders believe this is a story for this weekend. If Shedeur Sanders is traded to the Saints, the ripple effects will shake the league. In Cleveland, the reaction will be a firestorm of fan outrage. The front office will be accused of incompetence on a historic scale. Every loss will be framed through the haunting lens of the one that got away, plunging the franchise into a self-inflicted civil war. In New Orleans, it will be the opposite, pure citywide euphoria. Shedeur will be treated as a franchise savior. The Superdome will buzz with an electricity not felt in years. The narrative will flip overnight. From the Saints botched the draft to the Saints pulled off the steal of the decade. Nationally, it becomes the defining story of the year so far. 1 transaction, 2 franchises set on completely opposite trajectories. Right now it's all whispers, but in the NFL, whispers have a way of becoming breaking news overnight. The Browns have a quarterback they never wanted and a problem they want to disappear. The Saints have a crisis they need to solve and a fan base they need to appease. 1 phone call could change everything. And if the rumors are true, by the end of the weekend, Shedeur Sanders could be wearing black and gold, while Cleveland is left trying to explain how they let a future star walk away for nothing. The clock is ticking. This is the Huddle News. Thank you for watching. Like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you soon with more NFL updates.